All right, let's get right to the heart of this thing.
Don't fight it, son. Confess quickly.
Strange women lying in ponds, distributing swords is no basis for a system of government.
It's evil! Don't touch it!
That was only one of the many occasions on which I met my death.
Welcome to Framework. It's John, one of the hosts of Framework, and with me as always the other host of Framework, Al. Good afternoon, Al.
Hey there, John. Welcome back to the Terry Gilliam retrospective.
And now for something completely Gilliam. That's
Yeah.
the name of it. We're talking about all the films of Terry Gilliam, and today, The Adventures of Baron Munchausen has come up. The fourth film from 1988. Joining us to talk about this landmark film, Gwen Sisco. Welcome back to the program, and thank you.
Thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
Gwen, you've been on a couple of times. I don't really have a sense of if you have a Gilliam perspective or relationship, particularly.
I've been through a journey with Gilliam personally. I definitely grew up with Time Bandits being my brother's favorite movie, and I found it terrifying and strange. And then I saw this. I have blurry memories of seeing this as a kid and being excited to see Robin Williams, but also feeling like I couldn't wrap my head around it. And then I just didn't pay attention to Gilliam at all for a long time. And then, 12 Monkeys happened and I was like, oh, I love this guy. And then Fear and Loathing happened and I was like, I love it even more. And so since then, I've gone back to re-explore the 80s Gilliam.
It does seem like a rough way into Munchausen, though, if you're a kid who is excited about Robin Williams. And then this is a kind of, I think, an upsetting version of Robin Williams for a kid. And kind of impenetrable, but if you're getting it, then it's kind of off-putting.
I think this was my introduction to Robin Williams. Oddly enough.
Really? This should have been everything I want out of a movie, but I think I was just too young to process the way his storytelling works.
Yeah, but I think this is the Gilliam conundrum. His movies are a little bit kind of for no one in that sense of that he makes movies that are childlike fantasies that are a bit too scary or off-putting for kids, but also, and so he's not dark enough for adults. I mean, broad strokes audience-wise, like the quadrants. He's sliding between quadrants a lot, is what it feels like to me.
You'd think I'd love that. I was a kid who loved Labyrinth and Dark Crystal and Legend, but I think there's a certain intense Britishness that's also sort of like in there that changes the kind of comedy it is that I didn't understand. I don't know.
And it is odd coming from the American Python, but it's still so born by
very
Python.
British humor.
Oh, absolutely.
I saw this when I was 8 years old in theaters. First run theater.
Wow.
My dad took me to it. I remember we had to go to one of the small weird theaters downtown because it was the only place it was playing. My dad, for some reason, strongly felt that we should watch this. This is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Really?
This is a foundational text for me as a film goer, as a movie fan, as a person who responds to films. This is like akin to something like The Wizard of Oz for me. I think this is a staggering masterpiece. Maybe like kind of the main movie I was excited to talk about when it came to Terry Gilliam. There's others I love. There's at least one more has a similar status in my life, but this one I've seen this 50 plus times. I keep coming back to it. I watch it every year or so. It's this is everything I want in a movie. I am as with Gwen, except it worked for me. Except I was there all the way. This ignited my imagination and taught me about what movies can be. Huge one.
Yeah.
I may be the only person in the world this is true of.
I don't think that's so. I think a lot of people actually feel this way. I don't know how many people actually saw it in the theater in the 80s. That's the main thing.
I'm very proud of that.
Well, it got buried on release.
117 screens. That's what it was released to. You know, $40 million movie, enormous amount of money for the 80s. Apparently a massive bomb, one of the biggest ever. It was one of those situations where the CEO who greenlit it was rousted halfway through production, and they became kind of persona non grata, within the company, that they no longer cared about the film's success, and it had no real incentive to push it. And it's a hard movie to push anyway. It's a weird one, and Terry Gilliam, characteristically sort of aggressive and confrontational with the press, and calling out enemies, to major publications, probably didn't help his case at all. And kind of getting comeuppance for Brazil. For Hollywood, in any way. This could have ruined him. This could have been the end of Terry Gilliam, for sure. This is a profound bomb.
Yeah, I think today it would have ruined him, probably.
Well, this or many other things, I suppose. But yeah, you don't come back from something like this these days. It's I think it might just be his relationship with Robin Williams, established in this film, is the only reason he keeps going.
Maybe, but it's also that he's got the Python thing, which it is a little hard to draw up an analog for the 2020s of what Monty Python still meant in the 80s, and even harder, like that probably went a lot further in England than it did in Hollywood, but there's still a credibility to it that was still getting him in rooms with people like Robin Williams or whoever. But I don't know, it's a hugely expensive bomb. People still do seem to come back from those sometimes. I don't know. But I guess Brazil was also kind of a bomb.
Well, I mean, a artistic success there at least. Like it had critics groups. It had the narrative of its release. I mean, Time Bennett's was a hit. It did okay. I mean, he has to make concessions after this. No more just like whatever you want, whatever crazy fantasy project you want to make. Now we're making Hollywood movies with movie stars after this movie, and it actually works out just fine for him. But even still, like, yeah, this is a change, and he doesn't really get to do anything quite like this again afterwards, until we're kind of just sort of trying to chase former glories, I guess, in the latter day period. But he got to do this one, and this is, I feel, the most full-blown, most completely expressed Terry Gilliam vibe that you get, even more so than Brazil, which I think most people would call. But this one just feels like that. This is a guy who loves fantasy. This is a guy who really has ideas, inspired by centuries of work. Like the choice to make this story a character that no one in America is aware of. Like this is. I can't believe they allowed this to happen, frankly, to spend this amount of money. Well, it was budgeted at half the rate, I suppose. But, yeah, this is
even
about...
then, it wouldn't have been a cheap movie.
No. This is a German folklore character from literature.
I was led to believe that there was a real Friedrich von Munchausen person, but it became more of like a Paul Bunyan figure of Europe, with these tall tales camp around him, but the real person sort of encouraged that. The myth-making or something like that. Maybe tried to monetize it somehow. It wasn't entirely clear to me.
So the story in brief, there was a real Baron Hieronymus Karl Friedrich von Munchausen.
Right.
He was a real dude and sort of a famed fabulist. And in some accounts, he's sort of a knowing satirist, making fun of the boasts and brags of soldiers and captains. And and some people just say no, he just lied a lot. He was he was one of those guys. And it's 300 years ago, so no one really knows. Then a contemporary of his, Edwin Rasp, novelized his adventures and put it into a book. I have read the book when I was a kid.
How's the book?
It's pretty good, honestly. It's very episodic, kind of Alice in Wonderland. Everything in this movie is straight out of the book. Every single sequence, a lot of the conceits. I think pretty much the whole thing is stitched together from different episodes in his adventures. You got the fish, you got the moon, you got the cannonball, the wine tasting with the Sultan. Every single thing.
But the framework of Sally Salt
that's not there.
That's Gilliam, right?
Totally. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he's sort of it is a bigger deal in Europe for certain. There's characters like Scaramouche or Cyrano de Bergerac that are variants on this kind of archetype. The captain with the nose and the tricorner hat and the mustache.
Have you seen the fabulous Baron Munchausen, the Czechoslovakian film from the 60s?
I haven't seen that one.
So
I've seen the George Méliès one.
I was watching some of that. I also watched the 10-minute silent. But no, the Czechoslovakian film from the 60s is unbelievably gorgeous. You should absolutely look at it just to take it in. But Cyrano de Bergerac is in it, the character.
Interesting.
And Jules Verne characters show up. It's very strange, but unbelievably beautiful.
Well, that sounds great.
It's like a mix of live action and animation, but even when it's just live action, all of the sets are hand drawn and they look like paper cutouts, so you feel still like you're in the middle of animation. If
there's
gorgeous.
More Munchausen media to be consumed, I gotta get to it, man.
You gotta find that one.
Oh yeah, huge. There's a Nazi one too. Goebbels financed one.
Goebbels.
Haven't seen that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's a bigger deal in Europe, and I guess it did better in Europe, although still not well. It was released on more than 117 screens. It would almost have to. And so it's still an odd thing to take on, and it's, it's kind of about a bullshit artist, fundamentally. And that's the starting point of the movie, though. There's so much else going on in this thing. Like I said, I think in Brazil, plot really not Gilliam's forte. The plot of this one, man, it took me a very long time to figure out what the hell was actually going on in this, I think. And it gives you no help up front, man.
Yeah, well, and the first act is about 45 minutes long.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say it takes about that long for them to get into the balloon with Sally going to the moon and be on the adventures. Yeah, episodic, I suppose, is the word we will use for the pacing.
Oh, yeah. It definitely is. It's a series of adventures, and that's what the book is. There's if you're doing the book remotely, you got to do that. I'm actually surprised how well he stitched everything together with the Turks and the Sultan and the theater troupe and the Jonathan Pryce character and all of it kind of coming to a head. I don't want to say elegant because it's quite a patchwork, this film.
Yeah, elegant it is not.
No.
Yeah,
sort of modeled.
Yeah. But it does come together in like a quilted way, like you're saying. Like the parachute of pantaloons, that's kind of what it feels like in terms of that patchwork put together. Like the way everything ties together by the end, you're like, wow, how do you make that work without it feeling really dumb and overly cheesy?
Well, that is sort of the way I feel about Time Bandits too. The patchwork quality of it, I think, and I think this and Time Bandits are very much of a piece for me.
They are
both being movies that I did not have relationships to as a kid. So as an adult, they hit me in a similar way. I guess Time Bandits has a stronger villain performance, or just character tying it together is kind of a help there. But
I think that depends on who you consider the villain. Because if it's Jonathan Pryce, then no. If it's the Angel of Death, then I love that.
Well, visually, yes, that is that's wonderful stuff.
Yeah.
Best Reaper I've ever seen, for sure, in a film. No question about it. Love that thing.
Munchausen has a better title hero character, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
Munchausen is a more defined character than any of the individual Time Bandits. And I guess I like Sally Salt better than the boy in Time Bandits whose name is escaping me.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, Gilliam cares about Sally Salt, and that's a big difference. You know, Sally Salt is an important, kind of necessary character to this film working, and the kid in Time Bandits almost feels like a necessary evil that we must deal with to get to the dwarfs and the time travel.
I feel like he makes her really imperative to like the story and what the story actually he's telling. His version of Munchausen Sally is the center of it, in my opinion.
You can make the argument she is the protagonist. I don't know. It's tough. I think it's kind of a dual protagonist situation. But, you know, I mean, the movie is called The Adventures of Baron Munchausen, so you might as well call him the protagonist. But structurally.
No, sure.
Yeah.
But the movie's called, or the book is called The Great Gatsby. But you could make the argument that Nick is the protagonist if he's the perspective character.
But,
Don't get me
Ishmael is fine, but Ishmael is the perspective character, even though Ahab is sort of the larger character in Moby Dick, and that's a structure that's familiar, I guess.
Well, this actually, and I mean, this is something that as a parent I have kind of clocked in with in the last few years. This actually has the exact same plot and structure as Moana. If you've seen that many times as I have. It is structurally the same film. Very interesting. And that movie, obviously, is about Moana. And Sally is the Moana of this film. And functions very similarly.
Right.
I mean, the only difference being that Moana has to go in search of... what's his name? Maui is what his name in Moana. Maui. Thank you.
Maui, yes. Well,
Moana goes in search of Maui, whereas the Baron comes to Sally.
Well, he is summoned in a way, I think you might say. He is a demigod figure for certain. Like he has metaphysical powers of some kind that honestly,
immortality and metaphysical coxmanship, I guess, since he's
certainly does.
All of his adventures seem to revolve around seducing the wives of
that's so great,
like god figures.
It's really magnificent.
But no, I think that the way the Baron works, and I mean, this is sort of my big, this is my theory of Munchausen, is that he is, a metaphysical Zorro, essentially. Yes, a tall tale figure, but a demigod, a trickster, much like Maui, that, kind of gets up to schemes and pranks, and he'll save a village, but he'll also fuck things up. He'll also trick the Sultan into a several years long war, just kind of being a bit of a prankster and a jerk ass to him. And has to kind of be reminded of that. And oh shit, yeah, okay, I got to go save some people now because of that thing.
But we never see him just mucking up people's lives sort of recklessly so much as sticking it to the man a little bit, it feels like.
Yes.
Which makes
I would disagree. I mean, he's never malicious, but reckless, I think you can definitely paint him with.
Oh, reckless. He is a reckless person. Yes. However, I don't think when he comes in and like destroys things, he's not aiming. He is aiming at the man or whoever has the power or whoever's torturing people.
Yeah. I don't think he takes all the gold in the Sultan's palace if the Sultan doesn't show him the torturer's musical that he's been writing.
Oh, I think he does. But I also think, Sultan should have caveat emptor a bit. Like, should have been, when you're making a deal with somebody who has a team of superpowered Avengers, be careful about the wording a little bit.
Yeah, well, he's a Sultan. He's arrogant.
Yeah, that's true. So that's the other thing. It's like for the Baron to be the little guy, it's, sticking it to the man, kind of the Bugs Bunny figure, he is a titled nobleman himself.
Well, he has the form of one at any rate. Yeah.
Right.
Uh-huh. I don't know what lands he is in possession of. You know, it doesn't seem like that's his vibe at all. He tends to wander and just sort of go on adventures. Doesn't. Yeah. I don't know if he has a permanent address. I'm not sure. I'm not entirely sure he's got a corporeal form all the time. You know. He's basically a character from the Sandman in this.
Yeah, kind of. The version that we get of him once we're in the story is also not exactly empowered. Like the fact that it feels like death is always at the door.
Always low ebb, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's definitely, it takes his status and puts it in a very sort of precarious position, I think.
Well, my read is he needs people to be telling the story. He needs the power of story to kind of
he needs
re-energize
the audience to clap their hands.
Yes, he needs people to hear him tell his bullshit.
Yeah.
He can turn it into truth the more people are listening to it. That is his metaphysical power, and he takes just a little bit of interest that Sally shows him at the beginning, and kind of starts to get the engine going again. Starts to spin into the cannonball. Sequence happens right after she shows an interest in him. Mm-hmm. His power is warming up, and then kind of keeps rolling as the film goes on. The entire film sort of takes place within the proscenium stage, even though not literally, but it's all sort of stylized that way. So it's basically a story gets more powerful as it continues, as it gets rolling. People get more invested in it, and by the end, it has manifested into reality. And that is how his power works, I think.
When do you think his story begins? Or, well, we know he's telling the story in the beginning, and then it gets shut down. So at which point do you think he takes over the storytelling?
Oh, I think it's fairly literal in what's going on. He is this character, and this is why the movie is so bewildering early on, as you meet the troupe of actors performing, theater during wartime, like straight out of Time Bandits. And you meet this guy who is presenting as a false Baron Munchausen, and I initially are just like, is this the guy? I don't like him much. I don't know if this is not the guy. I think that he seems to exist as a fictional character within this world, and I think the interest and the need of the sort of desperation of the war, and these people getting shelled, and as the story is trying to be told, kind of summons him out of the ether, essentially, to appear as this old man who comes in and yells at them. It was like, "You're getting the story wrong," and that's where it starts. That's how it gets going.
So, would you say that when Jonathan Pryce shuts it down and leaves, and he has his first meeting with death?
Yeah, he's losing.
Is that
load.
part of the story, or is that sort of the interim? It feels as though the cannonball situation is his deciding to come back to it, or do you think the whole time he's telling that story?
Well, I think that it feels it's one way for a while, and by the end, when he just completely has dominion over death, the story has, been wrestled into his control to such an effect that he is now, mega powered. So early on, no, I think he's, I think he's at a low ebb of power, and the world is moving on. It's the age of reason. It's the Enlightenment.
I think that's
People
a
don't
joke.
believe. Well, people don't believe in his bullshit as much anymore, is the idea. Like science. People are starting to use rationality in science, which is anathema to a made-up fictional character. So,
well, yeah, and to Terry Gilliam's whole
yes,
aesthetic.
He's like, I hate that shit.
Well, and it does play as you're making fun of the so-called age of reason in which everybody is dying left and right, and you have to appeal to the village people to just not eat, to be good patriots. Like that being the age of reason that we should be proud of, I think Gilliam is calling out.
Oh yeah, Gilliam is, he's very much anti-reality at any given chance. It's the tyranny of the real, is very much a thing in his films, and maybe no more so than in this one. Like logic is how you get wars, and this is fundamentally an anti-war film. I mean, in its heart, and that's the representation of reality. It's Jonathan Pryce, making weird little personal negotiations with the Sultan by the end to, no, it's our turn to win the war. It's rationality and logic taken to an extreme of kind of cruelty, because that is the world as it manifests, according to Terry Gilliam, and and also according to everything that is going on in the world right now. Ultimately, this movie is about, fantasy is better. And unlike all the other ones, this one kind of has the upbeat ending where it's like, yeah, and fantasy wins. Fantasy succeeds here. I think because it was within the framework of a film itself. That is why it is allowed to win in this case. It's sort of a Inglourious Bastards type thing.
Yeah, there is a little bit of that. I guess it comes across less strongly because World War II is so much more real and immediate to us than the Turks fighting the Austrians in the 18th century.
A very non-specific war going on here. Okay. Yes.
But also, I don't know, I think I think it's kind of like the wrong approach to try to figure out like where the Baron's where the reality shifts over or whatever. I think I took the point being that there is no like clear answer as to when the Baron actually takes control of the story and the reality. And
well, it's definitely amorphous. There's no point, and I think it is, ramping up as it goes along, and you sense that, but there's not like there's not an activation point per se. Unless it's just Sally taking interest in saving him from death. Yeah.
Give us a clue that like this is the moment that it happens. I think it's interesting to sort of like consider for each person who watches it where it sort of transforms beyond the real world and into the world of fantasy.
I also do think that the more times I watch this, once I get to the 30th time I'm sitting through this, I'm kind of thinking like, he actually kind of welcomes death every time he shows up. Like there's an element of him being an ancient being here that's a little bored. That is a little bit
tired.
Kind of like, yeah, he's tired. He's kind of had it with some of this shit, like he's going to go through the motions in the end. He's going to do the thing, of course, but he's kind of just like,
he wants her to let him die in peace.
Yeah.
At times, yeah, when he's feeling particularly, unseen and unheard, and and I guess it's not necessarily unloved. He's pretty loved by all those wives, but
I think it might have more to do with like how much people are willing to play along with him.
Yeah,
because he seems at his lowest when everybody is in the belly of the fish and everybody's lost all of their special abilities, and it's as if like they've just stopped playing, and then if they're not going to play the game, then he may as well lay down and die. But
yes,
the moment it becomes a game again, he's like Bucephalus, and he's back to his younger self again.
Well, yeah, I mean, he quite literally just like ages from like his 30s to his 70s based on how he feels the whole time through, and just scene to scene changes.
Yeah,
a wild thing to throw at an audience, really. I mean, it's a clue to what's going on, I suppose, but I mean, it's never clear. It's never clear. You got to like really parse this and decide you're going to figure it out if you want an organizing theory of this.
Right, but I guess my point was sort of
that you don't have to, and you should.
Does it behoove you to have an organizing theory of this? In a Christopher Nolan movie, we can unspool what's going on behind and between the scenes of Tenet, and know that there is a correct answer to those plot questions. And I just don't think that that's true of Baron Munchausen. I think sort of the point. I mean, even to the point where the fantasy overtakes the reality of the war at the end and triumphs over it. The war itself is presented in such fantastical terms to begin with that it's almost like...
Well, he can't help himself there, man.
Yes.
You're going to have elephants with cannons mounted on their backs. It's going to happen.
But it's almost like a war itself is just sort of, having out whose story is going to win. It's not necessarily that there's a real truth underlying things. Maybe it's everything is fantasy to Terry Gilliam, and it's just that Hitler and Goebbels' fantasy is even worse than Churchill's in his mind. But it's not because it's more or less real.
I mean, if the Nazi film was trying to do this movie, I would actually be very curious about it. It's just trying to adapt a weird book. But if it were trying to do stuff about war and reality,
there was a Nazi Sally Salt.
No Sally Salt and the Nazi one, I'm sure. But I mean, there is a Jonathan Pryce here.
There is,
and yes, as the right ordinary Horatio Jackson, the most logical man, the most a bureaucrat, and a politician, a banal prick. I think his performance is a little goofy. I mean, I love this film utterly. It's not a perfect film, I have to admit. This guy, he feels like, well, he was originally offered the role of Death and didn't do it because he wanted more money and regretted it forever, apparently. I feel like he's trying to make up for that a little bit here. I'm talking about, not Death, the evil genius in Time Bandits.
Evil. Yeah.
Yeah, Evil, excuse me. And, that's a slam dunk of a cartoon bad guy. This one, I feel like giving him a goofy accent and stuff is kind of the wrong approach.
Does he have a goofy accent or three goofy accents all sort of wrestling with each other inside a phone booth?
Tell if he's supposed to be German or French.
It's a silly
and a little Austrian.
It doesn't seem connected to anything. I'm pretty sure is what it is. This is a much more typical Jonathan Pryce character than Brazil, though. This is way more the sort of shit he usually does. Sort of the bureaucrat villain, the sort of stupid mean guy, and he has a purpose in the film, which is that he is he's the signifier of reality, and he hates anyone who kind of gives people hope or distracts them from what he wants them thinking, inspires any sort of sense of rebellion, or, it's a very, it's a Stephen Miller figure.
It is really.
I think that's unfair to the
right on.
Yeah, the right usual Horatio, whatever.
He deserves better than that.
Stephen Miller is driven by rampant racism, which is fundamentally not a rational stance. But
I do think it's interesting.
Film, being rational is the biggest sin that you could possibly have. It's worse than racism, bigotry. Yeah, and those are these human emotions, I guess, in Gilliam's perspective.
Dan says something along the lines of your reality is a lie. It's balderdash. I don't want it. And I think it's just interesting that supposedly Baron Munchausen is supposed to be the biggest liar in all history, but his point is my stories are real, more true than what you're trying to sell us in your reality.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful.
Yeah, and because it's a movie, he's right. It's great.
Right, exactly.
And you get it comes down to the belief of a child. It's such a great child performance in this. There's not a drop of precociousness to this. It's so good. It's so wonderful, and she just sort of has this. She has this the childlike innocence to see through the bullshit of war and reason. Which is great in a way that none of the adults can. She can just be like, no, we can't let that happen. No, what are you doing? Stop this. And that's just so much fun. And it's just the perfect little kid to do this. She's great.
I completely forgot about her from the memory of watching it as a little kid. I forgot there was a little girl in this story. And then, you were there when
she's not central to any of the images that stick with you.
when we watched it for movie night, it was the first time I'd actually sat down to watch it again in adulthood.
Right.
And that moment where she runs up to the like barricade and starts screaming at them to stop it, I was moved to tears, and I was like, "Oh, this movie is for me." this child like screaming for the grown-ups to just stop being ridiculous with all this violence. I think especially right now with all the wars that are happening, it moves me a lot.
I don't know what you're talking about. Donald Trump stopped 8 wars.
Or more, apparently.
Or more.
You just start attacking or more onto it, because why not? Nothing wrong with having a fabulist in charge of your reality.
That's the fucked up thing, right? That's like we have the biggest bullshit Baron Munchausen guy in charge right now, and it actually sucks. It's really bad.
Well, because our fabulist has no whimsy to him.
Yes, for sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's all of it is lies are self-aggrandizing.
Yeah, it's just grease and hatred. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, but of Sally Salt, let's get back to her for a minute. And that is what strikes, I guess, right. One of my first thoughts about this was sort of who is this movie aimed for? And I think that's what makes it hard to pin down, because my general like rule of thumb is that the best audience for an adventure movie with a child protagonist is children who are like 1 to 2 years younger than that protagonist. That cannot possibly be the case for this movie, because this is Sally's 6 years old, and is 8. It can't be a movie for 4-year-olds. It is sort of a child's fantasy movie that is for adults more, I would say, right? And that's a hard target.
Well, John, you saw it as a child.
Well, no, it works like Raiders of the Lost Ark works. Honestly, it's it is an outsized character, a big, broad, sort of pulp figure that sort of captures the imagination, at least for me. I was.
But with the child protagonist thing, makes it more like Temple of Doom.
Yeah, it works like Temple of Doom. It has the same Orientalism.
I was going to say it is equally offensive. And
I love both those films. I love both those movies. Is the thing.
Yeah.
So.
But there is like the stand-in for a child present.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it's a kid who gets to hang out with Indiana Jones or the Baron, I suppose. I mean, that's I guess my in. I don't require an in though necessarily. That's just that for me. I don't know. I was the kind of kid who was like, I don't want kids in this kid movie. I had no problem with. I just imagined I was Indiana Jones or whatever, or the Baron.
I do think that's a weird thing, though. That I think that's more common than you might think, and that it is a strange invention of adults that to assume that kids need a kid as their way into an adventure story, and that just was never true in my personal experience. That I was perfectly willing to buy into the X-Men and was impatient with the Jubilee character. Like, oh, you don't have to give me a 13-year-old here. Like, I'm 9 years old, and Wolverine and Nightcrawler are plenty cool for me.
No, I mean that's true in my experience for sure. I do think that Sally Salt is not to solve for children. I don't think he's making a kids film here per se. Right. And I think she is structurally necessary to the plot and themes of the Baron Munchausen. That's why she's here. And being a child gets her closer to believing in things and having that sort of clarity of thought and righteousness that allows her to see through the depredations of reason and reality.
Yeah, I think she's willing to believe in the Baron in a very childlike way, but between the two of them, she's the grown-up in the situation. She is the one who's like, we need to get back on task, please. Mm-hmm.
That's true.
So yeah, I don't think they're like, look, kids, this is you, let's be kids, in this point of view. Like, I do think it's a little bit from her POV, only in that like the movie starts with her from her POV.
Yeah, well, she is Moana, of course.
She is Moana.
I mean, well, she's a little Greta Thunberg too, honestly, a little bit, you know.
Yeah,
Like,
well, standing on the battlements, shouting at the adults to stop. Yeah, that is
dumb shit. Yes,
that's the Thunberg vibe. But also, okay, so yes, the movie is structurally around her perspective, and yet Gilliam himself is such a Munchausen figure.
Yeah,
that it feels like the movie gravitates to his perspective more than hers. Or there's a push and a pull there, at least.
Yeah, well, it's a Munchausen story. Like,
right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And he's doing shit here, you know. Like you can't really adapt these stories without them being about him. He is the central acting figure in all of these, even if the action is simply to seduce the despot's wife. It is what he's up to, you know, and he's the one who's going to, you know, pull himself out of the water by the back of his hair because, you know, he's the one with the magic, essentially.
Yeah.
This guy, John Neville, the actor who plays the Baron. He's a stage guy, big in England and then in Canada. He was the artistic director of the Stratford Festival for a long time. He made this movie while he was doing that. He's basically the lead actor from Slings and Arrows. Basically, that guy. He's never been in anything else. Well, he has. He's like small roles
in
here
the
and there.
Fifth Element.
Yeah. As like a random general guy or something. He's one of the rich men in a darkened room in X-Files who are, you know, making deals with the aliens. And sometimes you'll see him pop up in some embarrassing role, like he's the mean teacher in the urban legend 90s slasher. You know,
precisely
murdered in a parking garage, I think. It's so wild that he is like the center of this film, like this actor that has like no other profile in movies or for American audiences. Like, I think he's wonderful. I think it's an excellent performance, and I'm just like, where the hell was this guy? I mean, I guess he was doing stage stuff, but like,
yeah,
you know, it's weird to see somebody that like never showed up in anything kind of come up. I think hit it out of the park. I love this characterization, and you know, he has the exact sort of twinkle in the eye required of this role. You would think it'd be somebody like Michael Caine or even like one of the Pythons, like John Cleese could have done this.
But there's something neat about giving it to somebody who is not already super well known, and somebody who's clearly from the stage.
Yeah, I think you can really feel that.
And I call me crazy, unbelievably handsome. I think he's just so dreamy in this movie. So dreamy. I mean, not necessarily with all of the cake done makeup, but when you have those moments where he gets that twinkle in his eye, I'm right there swooning with the Queen of the Moon and Venus. And
awesome. I mean, it's hard not to be kind of bowled over by Uma Thurman as Venus in this too. Uma's never someone I've been like super gaga over, like, you know, on a physical level. But
she's probably more beautiful here than ever.
Yeah, and it's like everything. The thing that I find a little odd about her just physicality is that she's got these really long limbs and extended torso and all that. Like, makes her look like the Venus on the clamshell painting. That is like physically distended itself and looks like it's got a broken shoulder and stuff. But well, I mean, it's amazing use of her unique physicality. There is my point.
It's an amazing moment. It's not her arrival to the film. She's also playing, you know, the scullery maid in the theater or whatever, because everyone is sort of another version of themselves. But it is still just like what an entrance!
Except for Oliver Reed and Robin Williams, I guess. Who just,
oddly enough, yeah. I guess
as a practicality, they couldn't get them for the entire shoot.
Right.
I really do wish we could have seen both of them somewhere in the other side of the story.
They should have been, ideally.
What are you going to do?
Concessions, I mean, you know, fair enough. Like, you know, it's worth it to have them in the film. but still, yeah, that I like if it were a perfect object, absolutely. Even still, it's a remarkable entrance into films and kind of a declaration of movie stardom in its way. Even as this film barely got seen, people kind of took notice of Uma Thurman in that scene because it's just such a striking moment and a visually arresting moment. I mean, we talked briefly about some sort of Renaissance painting imagery in Brazil occasionally. This one is, top to bottom, has some Renaissance imagery in it, and no more so than in that sequence.
Yeah.
Quite literally quoting it. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's not subtle about quoting that painting. I mean, the Oliver Reed performance is pretty remarkable, too.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the Oliver Reed he is on fire in this, man. He's
so great.
He's so incredible. It's maybe my favorite work of his career, and I like Oliver Reed, but man, he's good as Vulcan the God here.
The fact that he's making remote weapons and struggling with union labor. He's just the symbol of the character is really brilliant, and then on top of that you have his performance that is just so volatile and visceral.
So amazing.
That's Oliver Reed, though.
We cater to all types here, and that little scene he has with Sarah Polley next to the atomic bomb or whatever he's making, just that doesn't help the movie necessarily. I mean, it does because it's an amazing scene, but it's something you could easily cut out, and I'm so glad it's in there because it's just this beautifully performed little moment.
And I think it's important to the story.
I mean, it's part of the banality of the real for certain, and the way the world is turning and tending, and yeah, it's just such an incredible bit of dialogue, and the way he performs it when he gets down and talks to her like a child is like, but the great thing is, you don't have to see a single one of them die. It's such an intuitive performance. He's connecting with it so much there. It's great. It's great.
And that is such it's weird to even think about what's important to the story for this movie, because the story itself, like you said, is, but it's so important thematically.
When I say story in a Terry Gilliam film, I mean the themes.
Right. It is, it's vital because it's thematically, it's vital, and the the plot is not that important. I mean, the point of all the tall tale stuff is that the plot doesn't really hold up. It doesn't need to.
Yeah.
But it is strung together beautifully, how they go from the hot air balloon to the moon to Vulcan's world to the sea. Yeah,
it's all very clever, but it doesn't explain things to you ever really too much. They're in a storm at sea, and it just sort of they end up on the moon. And it's just done through filmmaking, and I think it works incredibly well. And it also kind of keys you in on we don't have to deal with rules in this film. This is fantasy. We can just if they say that's how it works, that's how it works. Because there's a sort of theatrical reality. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When she's like, we're going to the moon, that'll take ages, and he just goes, no, it won't.
And we're there. And at first the moon it actually looks quite a bit like what we've seen from footage of the moon in that sort of dusty, dark landscape. But then it's a literal crescent of cheese, practically. Cool. It's the fact that it can be both, I think, is yes, that's the point. It doesn't. There are no rules here.
The sequence where they are climbing up to the tip of the crescent to hang a rope down so they can climb down from the moon while there's sort of constellation creatures flying around them in space is one of my favorite scenes in any film. And visually, it's the most amazing thing ever. It's just a gorgeous, gorgeous shot. And, all very inspired by, old European art, but literalized and visualized in moving imagery in a way that I've never seen anything like it. It's stunning. And all the practical stuff in it, the production design on this is a whole conversation, but it's some of the greatest in any film ever. That's why I say stuff like Wizard of Oz, the look of this thing, the imagination behind the moon sequence in particular, which, apparently that was supposed to be Sean Connery as the King of the Moon with a cast of thousands, and they all had detachable heads that fly around it. They had to rewrite the whole thing because of massive budget cuts, and became just two guys.
Glad it's not Sean Connery.
Well,
like I can see an argument that it shouldn't have been Robin Williams.
I can't.
I enjoy him, but it should definitely not have been Connery. And I like that it's simple, that we only see these two individuals there. Like,
well, it becomes a weird thing where they're the king and queen of nothing.
Exactly. Yeah,
it's sort of this fake
Ray
world.
Tucci. He's the king of everything, and yet we see him ruling over nothing, not even his own body.
And there's these moving flats, that kind of make up a city. But they're also reinforced that we're still on the proscenium stage a little bit. The conceit of the head and the body separation thing.
We can go into a whole podcast just about that.
How the hell was this explained to Robin Williams? I'm wondering. Okay, so you've got a Doric column coming out of the top
over a mirror with several long white lines on it.
I don't think he needed much explaining for a person like Robin Williams. He was just like, okay.
Probably, yeah. I mean, he just runs. And
right.
And there's practicalities of what's going on with these guys that are communicated incredibly well, though. There's so many weird details to this sequence, and many of them are sexual. And there's a lot of
and yet they're not.
So much.
The moment we find out that he actually is just tickling her feet.
Yes, I mean that's like an Animaniacs joke, but he does also specifically reference orgasms and farting and whatnot. So
he does reference.
They
orgasms.
do have sex, that is canon established here. But
I mean, I think the tickling is foreplay. I mean, it's a joke in the moment, but I mean, he has a bust of Caesar above the bed that is taking pictures of it as well, which is a weird little detail that comes to nothing.
I missed that.
Yeah, there's a bust of Caesar sitting on top of the bedroom, and his eyeballs are cameras, and they're just doing click, click, click while he's tickling his wife's feet.
That is such a weird Gilliam, random, creepy thing.
Comes to nothing.
Every now and then, the Gilliam creep shows up.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, he's a sexual being.
Beyond that.
And there's also, it doesn't stop. He's got a 3-headed bird robot that he rides around on, and he uses giant asparagus as spears.
She has the body of a leopard. Sybil, this creature. Body of a leopard, but heads of 3 vulture-ish creatures. And she's somehow, an organic droid situation.
Maybe. Yeah, an android of some kind. Yeah, and there's this, and again, this is the first of the two, just hey, wait, you fucking my wife, Baron? Kind of things going on, which it's like the way out of every one of these episodes is just the whatever despot they've encountered is hey, what's going on here? You trying to hook up with my wife?
It's clear that they have history, and I'm just, do I want to know how it works?
No. We could speculate, but I don't think I don't think they want you to do that.
I think it's better that we don't.
Yeah.
I mean, one way of interpreting it is that she has always been pursuing him, and he has been sort of leading her on, but also avoiding consummating it because he doesn't want her to realize that it is physically impossible and lose interest in him or get angry at him for.
Yeah, he does very politely sort of veer away.
It's very respectful. I mean, it's different between Vulcan and and on the moon, because in the moon, you feel that it is sort of an emotional relationship, and they're dancing around the consummation, whereas Vulcan and Venus, there's a slight sense of it. They're kind of having a game with each other. That it's a little bit of a Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf kind of. That's a bit of their game.
A little bit, but you also get the sense from the Baron's side that he is ready to go through with it there. It's a little more of the Castle Anthrax sequence from Holy Grail.
Yeah.
But we also, for the moon thing, we also get Eric Idle in there. And sort of,
of course,
cutting one of his classic Python figures, which is when he's their go-to when they need someone languishing in a hellish prison who's very nonchalant about it.
Yeah, he does that a lot. Well, they've all done versions of that. I remember the Palin version. I've seen that. He is wonderful in this film. This is probably my favorite Eric Idle performance. He's in it a lot. He's really great in it. It's the most of a character I feel like I've ever seen him get handed, because he's way more of a sketch guy. He's playing a real dude in this. Berthold, the fastest man alive.
A real dude is all relative. I mean, he's one of the most cartoonish characters.
He's an Eric Idle.
He's playing a character. He's not a one-note joke exactly. He's like a 2.5-note joke. But I almost feel like he is, maybe because he's Eric Idle, but also part of the place in the weird, long, extended first act. The rest of the crew doesn't get nearly as much definition or screen time as Berthold. So it feels like to me.
Mm-hmm. Oh, certainly. Mm-hmm. Albrecht gets a little bit, and the two at the end, Adolphus and Gustavus, very little time for them. I think Jack Purvis kind of makes the most of what he has, more so than the other one. Charlie McKeon, who is he's actually one of the Gilliam's co-writer. He wrote this and Brazil with him.
Co-wrote this,
but he's kind of not much of a character per se. That's the one with the gun and the super eyesight.
And the Gilliam voice.
Yeah,
I think they all kind of get overshadowed by Eric Idle and the Baron. He seems to be the only one the Baron has a more defined relationship with, to me.
Well, I mean, to be fair, Eric Idle is the most engaging performer of the group, and
yes.
It makes sense to give him the moments. And there are plenty of characters already in this. I wouldn't mind having more of his team, a little bit more definition to them. That's true.
It seems like it's structured to be sort of a, putting the game together, everybody gets their time to shine. But it is much more like, he's, Berthold is the Shane Vendrell to the Baron's Vic Mackey. And then there's
You're
several
100%
Ronnies.
Right. 100% right. Yes.
There's a couple Ronnie Gardakis running around too.
Okay, should we figure out how every single character in Baron Munchausen relates to
No, I think it was perfectly clear for everybody.
Okay. Uh-huh. Okay, very good. Very good.
I do sometimes wish they had more individual personalities and relationships. That we see that they are forming relationships with Sally, but we don't actually get to see it happening. That would have been fun, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much going on. It seems like that's the trick of it. Albrecht has a bit of a game, which is I actually like being small and dainty. He's the strongest man alive who kind of enjoys being treated differently, and that's cute. I enjoy that. I'm really interested how the giants in the volcano are not literally taller than anyone. They all call them the giants, and Albrecht is maybe a little taller than most of them. Oliver Reed is one of the shorter. The Baron is towering over him, and they just refer to him as the giant.
Well, that's the one part that felt a little bit because they were momentarily, when we first see them, it looks like they're actual giants, and then you just stand up and realize they're not. And that's again another one of those moments where it feels like when you're playing pretend and you have to pretend to be a big monster, and so you stand on the chair, but then the moment you actually stand equally to each other, you realize that the person you're playing pretend with isn't actually bigger than you.
Love that stuff.
It's also the Baron's not the only, person of power in this world that is puffing themselves up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is also part of everything has a foot in practical theater effects. It's all sort of the conceits of the stage
Yeah.
writ large into every bit of this. I mean, we see in the opening sequence in the stage that as they're getting cannon fire is a scene that happens later in the film with the giant fish. You know, they actually do a stage version of, you know, something that happens in the third act of the movie. And
it's a really cool stage version, I have to say.
God, I would be so happy to see that show.
I know the performances are a little lackluster, but the actual like set design that they're working with is magic. It's so cool.
To the nines, man. I wish theater did shit like this these days, you know?
Yeah.
I would I'd be thrilled to see something with this kind of flat work. You know, the mermaids, the way they do the mermaids in that one.
So cool.
It's so great, yeah. I mean, that's a big passion of Gilliam's. He keeps coming back to, you know, sort of elaborate, overdone theatrical troops, usually in the middle of a war.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's true.
Dr. Parnassus next up, I think, with that.
Oh, I haven't seen that one yet, but
it's a weird one.
No, it has a lot of tonal similarities.
Yeah. It's he's kind of doing a you know, trying to recapture old glories kind of for a little while at the end. This is that's sort of the Munchausen attempt.
Yeah.
Which is weird that he doesn't really think of this as a triumph. This movie infuriates him if you speak to him about it, apparently. But yeah, I mean, it has found an audience, obviously. You know, there's a Criterion disc that came out 2 years ago. A really good one, by the way. It's a gorgeous 4K. Kind of does finally, you know, show the seams on that old age makeup, which is so good. But, you know, yeah, several years later in 4K, you can kind of see the lines a little. Oh,
but I like that about it. I'm okay with always seeing that makeup.
Well, that's the thing. It's theater. It's, you know, it is. We're living on stage here.
This movie's never going for seamlessness in the effects.
Mm-hmm. But at the end of the film, when it kind of reveals that no, this was all a story he was telling on stage, you know, and it comes that's, you know, one of the many times I died, which I strongly recommend. And there's this shot of everyone who is in the movie, every character just sort of like waking up from a trance. Like they all of a sudden they're just like, oh, we're back here. Oh, it was all he was just telling the story this whole time. I thought we were there. It's really great. I mean, that's the magic working, I guess you could say at that point. Okay, so I don't know. We talked about the moon. We talked about the Vulcan. A word for the fish. The fish is really cool. I mean, they spend the least amount of time there, but I really love the conceit that they pass through the center of the earth and end up in the South China Sea. That's so cool. And their feet are upside down at first. They got like flip themselves around. Like the imagination of how you visualize these weird concepts is the real incredible stuff in this film. The real filmmaking genius is like, how do you pull that shot off in a way that makes sense to an audience?
Yeah.
That's a problem he creates for himself so often with the images he's putting in this, and I think kind of nails it every time.
Well, it's more like cartoon rules. It feels like that work. I mean, the feet sticking out of the water, as well as like pulling him up by his own hair, which is not a thing that works in real life, but it works in cartoons.
That should be impossible to shoot in a way that makes sense too.
Yeah. And climbing down a rope from the moon to the earth, and then also cutting off the top of that rope, and it's Looney Tunes logic of until you point it out, it continues to work.
It's like they release a mouse into the battlefield because obviously that's the best way to take on an elephant.
I love that.
Is to release a mouse.
Well,
cartoon rules.
They've got to get the mouse to the elephant though, so they're going to use the dwarf who has the ability to blow more wind than anyone in the world. Sort of
his super breath is going to launch the mouse,
but he has to temper the super breath so he doesn't overshoot. Is the thing that I love about that.
You have to be careful that you don't super inhale because.
Well, they have to stick a tissue in his mouth to stop so it all builds up pressure. It's all this stuff is so great. This is my favorite things in the film is all the these little jokes and gags that seem almost impossible to show in real life, you know, like especially without
delightful.
CGI. Like that's the thing about this movie for me is the the design elements of it are some of the greatest of all time, and the solutions to the many problems that the script comes up with are never less than genius. They're so well explicated, so well realized. Every single one lands. I'm in awe of the directing of this film. This is the one that I'm kind of just like, well, this is why he's an important, great filmmaker. Maybe other great films, I think, but like this is the one. Obviously, I've said is the one that means so much to me and kind of started me on the path.
Yeah, it's also one of several you can say that it proves his importance as a filmmaker, because you can just tell nobody else could have made this movie in this way.
I mean, I think you've seen other people try to make films like this, and they look nothing like this. There's some. I mean, we'll talk about inspirations. Like you can see so much of this in, Thor Ragnarok is kind of trying to do this movie, essentially. I think
100%. Yeah.
There's stuff in this that kind of just survives and exists beyond it. CGI changes the dynamic. I would love to see somebody try something like this, but again, if you make this movie without CGI now, it would be you couldn't do it. There's no infrastructure to make a thing like this anymore. They just wouldn't. But
well, clearly there wasn't back then for.
No, true. For
$20 million.
Yeah, like they couldn't do it really back then effectively. But all the little production design choices that sneak in, all the amazing ideas, stuff that feels like it takes inspiration from something from the Elizabethan literature, something out of Alice in Wonderland or whatever. But then it's like, like the executioner's block with the big hand. To catch the head when you chop off the head, stuff like that. I'm just, it's just thrown off. It's just in there, like there's 1,000 little things like that in this film.
Well, and you're totally right that CGI would ruin this. And just the whole conceit of the theater troupe putting on this performance, that would contrast if there was a single bit of CGI imagery. Whereas having everything be even, the stuff accidental, the Dogville type, facades on the moon because they had no other choice. But that makes it of a piece with what the theater troupe's doing at the beginning. And, we're all putting on a show here. It's humans using their imagination and their effort. And if you automated any of that process, it would poison it.
It would be Avatar.
Yeah. Yeah, it's supposed to feel like pretend.
Yeah. It's and as such, this is the kind of film that just can't exist anymore. And
I think it can.
Yeah, I mean, I try to watch stuff that has the flavor of this. I think you're more likely to see a film that takes inspiration from Labyrinth or Dark Crystal. Some movies that are held with a little more affection by millennials. There's stuff that is attempting this and that is there. I mean, well, hell, this ends with like a superhero team doing, a big fight against an army where they use all their superpowers. We've seen versions of that recently.
Yeah.
So it's doing literally stuff that you can do now, but the feeling is 1,000 years removed. It's just a very different experience. And again, like there wasn't like a time when this was in vogue either. This is kind of this feels like it stands alone. To me,
Well, and it's interesting
outside of Gilliam's own filmography.
Well, yes, yeah, well, sure, but even there, this is the one that I respond to the most. Of the pure fantasies. I like this much more than Time Bandits, even though they are of a similar piece.
To watch the silent film and the Czechoslovakian version, they both also use such like arts and crafty kind of stuff. The silent film has like this really great monster puppet. And so I'm sure he saw those things and wanted to incorporate them to some extent. So it felt more like pretend or like a picture book. And today there are some people who make stuff like that, but not enough. I will reference Moon Garden again, which is very, very arts and craft dream world. And then, there's like The Fall, which is not doing the same thing in terms of production style, but it's doing all the rest of the same thing.
You can draw a straight line from a lot of stuff in Munchausen to The Fall.
Yeah,
Absolutely. I mean, the team alone is like, feels like they're to come from the same costume shop, basically.
Yeah.
Man, the costumes in this thing.
And the death hanging over everything is there for both. Although it's much more like whimsical here.
I mean, it's still pretty scary. I love I mean, it is whimsical and
It's
scary.
beautiful
That's sort of a
and
Gilliam.
terrifying.
Yeah, a Gilliam specialty is scary whimsy.
But the person who's threatened by death doesn't seem scared, so that makes a big difference.
Yeah.
No, but that's where the Sally Salt character helps out too, is that death still gets to be scary because it's scary to her, even though it's not. The Baron has a very different relationship to it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's kind of like old campaigners with death, essentially. And I mean that's what happens at the end, of course, is that there is after the Baron has triumphed over the Sultan's army, they're all destroyed, and all the elephants with cannons on their backs have been routed, and they ran away, and the Sultan is dragged to his death, apparently. Like then the Baron is assassinated by Jonathan Pryce, who just sort of scowls and runs off, and it's sort of like, well, this is an odd ending, and then it immediately walks it back, and we're back into the the proscenium stage, and he's just like, oh yeah, I recommend you die sometimes. It's okay. This is the transcendence mode. This is like he has conquered everything. He is in complete control of the narrative because it is a film that we're watching, and fantasy reigns in film. So of course, the Turks are defeated. Of course, the city is saved because it happened in the story. That's the power. He is the metaphysical superhero. And that is how his power works.
Yeah.
It is cool. An interesting statement, too, though, that death is an important part of stories.
Mm-hmm.
Death being an ending, I guess. That'd be the ultimate ending in some ways. Not for the Baron himself, obviously. But that's an interesting commentary to me.
Well, and it brings in some of the...
I guess in a modern context where so much of our popular storytelling is now aspiring to be an endless, deathless cycle where there is no ending ever.
Interesting.
But it does bring some of the idea of like no one can die as long as we keep telling their story.
Well, that is how he exists. It would appear, that is how the Baron lives. Is he lives through story, like the Candyman, essentially.
Exactly like the Candyman.
Yeah.
That's what everybody says. He's halfway between the Candyman and Vic Mackey. That's the Baron Munchausen archetype.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is why I compared it to Sandman. Is that it is this is, I think, the best film version of something like the Sandman. Like that is a sort of a famously unadaptable. They made a series now, which is solid, I guess, but like never got around to finishing it because the mood changed hard. But it is still like, I mean, I saw this before Sandman. It is before Sandman is published, in fact, and it feels like, oh well, this is what it would look like to do that, to make a film of this kind of thing with the way the stories kind of overlap, and change and influence one another, and sort of the shifting power dynamics within who's telling what story, and it's just it's an ode to storytelling. It is a love letter to the act of storytelling, and it is I think an exemplary example. Fuck that! An exemplary example of storytelling, even if which is crazy because it has a weird loose plot. It is a confounding movie. Yeah, that's why I keep coming back to it.
Well, speaking of the souring mood around Sandman, is that a good way to talk about the Sarah Polley has talked about having a really bad experience on this movie as a child?
And not just Sarah Polley. I mean, Eric Idle has also talked about how it was hell for him too. Like, I think it was kind of hell for everyone. I think it was just particularly traumatic for the little girl who everyone was gaslighting. Uh-huh.
I mean, I initially, when that article came out a few years ago, which Sarah Polley wrote, I think it's part of an autobiography, but it was published, separately.
Yeah, it was a section of her memoir.
Yeah, and it was, I think the byline is like, it took me years to realize how traumatized Terry Gilliam made me on the set of Munchausen, and I saw that, and it was like my heart just like, oh shit, what'd he do? As you get sometimes when you hear somebody that you really do care about, and it was almost a relief to be like, oh, it's just explosions. Oh, this is okay, everything worked out. But no, if you actually read it and engage with it, it's pretty messed up, and
it is. But it came out in the middle of the whole Me Too phenomenon, and so you're braced for an entirely different, I guess, flavor of.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. I think if he had reacted to the Me Too phenomenon differently, it would be less troubling. But
he reacted pretty poorly to that, and many modern trends as well.
Yeah, he is. He's not been in his best between the way he has responded to Me Too and his championing of people like Dave Chappelle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's one of those guys who's just like, no one lets you tell a joke anymore. I mean, we've been doing this series. I love the man's films very much. I've been watching a lot more interviews with him, reading things about him, stuff that he has been involved with, and just seeing him on camera talk about his work. And I'm just like, I don't like this man at all.
No, I'm pretty sure I've worked with a lot of genius men. And I say that like in scare quotes, but also like I genuinely believe that they have extraordinary talent who like are aware of how brilliant they are, and they think that part of what makes them brilliant is the fact that they don't play by any rules or necessarily put other people's experience into their consideration, and that's part of how the magic happens. And if you can't play along and roll with it, then that's your problem. That's the vibe I get.
That's him. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of fair play if he's dealing with Sid Sheinberg or Eric Idle even, or whoever. It's a different dynamic when it's a 6-year-old that's sort of in your care.
Right. But I think even amongst adults, I think it's, I don't know. I feel really strongly as a theater director about making your players feel safe. I think that's just really very important to the creative process. Not that like you shouldn't take risks, but like in general, it seems like he was very, very dismissive of anybody's concerns and just was like, play with me. Come on.
The person presented in that Sarah Pauly article is fascinating because she kind of like does give voice to his sort of magnetism and his the way he is appealing and the way he uses that weaponizes it in some ways that he feels like the Baron. He feels like this character essentially. I mean, that's what as we do these, it's crazy. Like he has these kind of selfish. My way or the highway asshole protagonists that you do like that have this sort of purity of vision to them. I mean, maybe Sam Lowry isn't the stand-in. Maybe the Baron is the most accurate version of Gilliam in his films.
Yeah.
I guess the Baron, it is all to a purpose. All his assholery is kind of to weave a better story, which then saves the town. The quality of the story is directly commiserate to how effective it is. as a means of saving the town, but in reality, of course, it's just to make the best movie possible. Like, can he spin enough bullshit to get this all across and win in the end? And he, I don't know. It's one of my favorite movies. So's The Shining, which was also directed by a fucking tyrant asshole who was abusive on set.
I wouldn't put it past Gilliam, though, to think that he is actually like saving something great in making the art that he makes.
I have
like I can believe it's more than just like it's to tell the best story. I think he thinks that his
films would bear that out.
Yeah,
I know, but we talked about this in Brazil too, though. I do feel like I don't know if realism is such a weird word to apply in this concept, but there's a realist sense of the limits of the fantasy and the other ones, not less so in Munchausen, because this ends with
Oh,
fantasy completely supplanting reality.
I think that's because it is, in this case, we are doing a fictional thing. Like he has dominion over fiction specifically.
And I think he's interested in the tension between the world of so-called reality that wants to tear down fantasy.
Yeah, the grubby reality.
Yeah, like one is always going to be rubbing up against the other.
It's interesting in that, the figure that you get from the polypiece of Gilliam and what it seems like, and what I can kind of believe about him, I guess, is that his approach to it's part about his approach to fantasy and everything, is that he thinks that generally adults underestimate what kids can handle and all that. And so he makes fantasies that are a little traumatizing for children on screen. And then behind the scenes too, it seemed like he was way too like to treat this 6-year-old child actor as something more like the grown-up actors, or more like a peer. And as a child, that's like exactly. I mean, it's a dangerous and damaging to you, and also exactly what you want as a child. But that's why you're a child; you don't know what is good for you. So you see, from that, I sort of see how that dynamic got to play out.
No, the gaslighting stuff in that article is really creepy. It's really, really quite scary, and it's kind of just like, oh well, we're in a position. I guess we're just going to have to, own up to it. It's abuser language in a real way. Mm-hmm. It's bad. It's bad. I'm against it.
Yeah,
I don't know. Sarah's also said, you have my unconditional approval to still like the film. It's okay. I like the film, and that's a tough thing that I still don't think we've ever fully reckoned with. What do we do about difficult artists? In some cases, it becomes very easy to be just like, what J.K. Rowling was like, yes, every cent you give to Harry Potter supports terrorizing the trans community in England. And I'm like, okay, fair enough. I hear you. And it's tougher in a case like this, Or what do you do with Quentin Tarantino, who is similar kind of annoying, dangerous guy who makes great movies? He still makes movies that I really like. I wouldn't want to hang out with him necessarily. I mean, I would because he's Tarantino, but if he weren't a famous person, he would be very annoying, I'm sure.
It would be interesting, but probably might also get old. But
yeah, but I'm also not in a position to be like terrorized or victimized by any of them.
Right.
I mean, I think everyone knows people in their lives that are, toxic, for lack of a better word, that that it's bad news to hang out with, even if there is some appeal to them. And, it's just a difficult thing sometimes. And yeah, never more so than when they're making your favorite movies ever.
It's really annoying.
Yep.
I'm so over it.
And there's more of this to come, by the way. If the 12 Monkeys, there's an incredible documentary on his process on the DVD. I'm sure it's on YouTube as well. And you watch it and you're just like, what an asshole this guy is. Like, what a bunch of horrible choices. And and you know what? 12 Monkeys is also a great film. And then,
I haven't seen that documentary.
But... Oh, it's called The Hamster Factor. When we get around to that, you got to watch it. It's fascinating.
Hamster Factor, cool.
Mm-hmm. The Hamster Factor refers to a day he shut down production because he couldn't get the hamster wheel, the hamster in the hamster wheel on the far edge of the shot to run. So they delayed. So they couldn't get their one establishing shot, and they spent all day on it. And it's good stuff. And there's the Lost in La Mancha Chronicles, of course, which is more being difficult. It's a lot. There's a lot of this guy. And, if you're not as taken with the films as I am, and I am on the far edge of being a fan of Terry Gilliam's movies, I can see how it gets to a point where you're just like, enough of this guy, enough of this shit, So I'm sympathetic to that. But, here I am. Foundational film for me. So,
yeah, I'll certainly check out that documentary, but 12 Monkeys is not next, right? Don't we go to the Fisher King next?
Fisher King's next. That's right.
Okay.
Another film I think is wonderful. And yeah, the Robin Williams stuff in that, it's a real difficult watch now. Really,
Yeah.
really kind of some of the most profound, heartbreaking work of his career for sure, and a definitive role for him. So, so that's the next one. Yeah.
I've never seen that one. At least not all the way through.
Never
So
seen it? Wow. Oh,
I saw parts of it on TV when I was younger, but I've never seen it all the way through. So that'll be
Fantastic.
interesting.
All right. It's another one I have a weird childhood relationship with. I read the novelization of it. I remember distinctly. Okay. Gwen, thank you so much for being here to help us talk about this film. Yeah.
You're so very welcome. It's such a fun movie.
It's a wonderful film. It really is.
Yeah.
All this shit aside, it's just an amazing, evocative, joyous film about imagination and creativity and production and just all that stuff. It's a beautiful movie.
It is. Long live stories and playing pretend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, rate us on the podcast app or provider of your choice. It helps profile the show. And yeah, join us next time for the Fisher King.
Distributing
Thanks
swords is
again.
no basis for a system of government.
Ciao.
It's evil! Don't touch it!
That was only one of the many occasions on which I met my death.